Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this or any other conversation I ignite going on over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad, my Vero at Big Mouth 1, and the extension to this channel is my Instagram. Give or take a few stupid posy selfies and stuff. Big Mouth 11289, and welcome to my Star Wars video as I react to the controversial news that Colin Trevorrow's original Episode 9 script has leaked. Now, I've got a Collider article here I'm going to read. Now, everyone's spoken about this. Everyone. It's a big thing. The fandom menace are very excited about this, of course. But at the end of the day, right, I'll be honest, I have read the script. It's a brilliant script. It's the best script within Disney Star Wars, and they sacked him for it because it was original. Disney don't like originality, and they do not like the fact that Colin's script contradicts, and if you like, rewrites and course corrects Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. I believe that this film, Colin Trevorrow's script, would have been hailed by fans. It was very faithful to the kind of stuff that George Lucas wanted, but it wasn't J.J. Abrams who betrayed George Lucas. It was Disney. Simple as that. There's no other way of looking at it. We can keep on calling him names, calling him Jar Jar Abrams, but at the end of the day, this is not even, if we want to talk about the head of Lucasfilm, it's not really even about her. This is about Disney, and listen, it's interesting, isn't it? Because people keep on saying to me, yeah, but you criticise Disney. Well, what about the MCU? But for all these years now, it's been Feige, hasn't it? It's been Kevin Feige running that, and he's been on point and in charge totally. And Disney have allowed him to be in control of that. But all of a sudden, you can see decisions where they're taking out of his hands. So there's going to be problems with that franchise as well soon. But as long as Kevin Feige's been running it, it's been very successful. So let's read this article, because this is an unparalleled situation. I'm going to go on record and say I believe that Colin Trevorrow or friends of his have leaked this script purposely, because he was sacked. And no matter what they say, that it was a good parting of the ways, like they always say, it was just I had a different opinion, blah, blah, blah. No, they sacked you. You're not happy about it. You leaked the script. That's my opinion. That's not a fact. I don't know that. Sorry, Colin, but it's a brilliant script. Anyway, let's read this. Yes, that leaked Colin Trevorrow Star Wars 9 script is real. It was only a matter of time. While J.J. Abrams is the director and co-writer of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, we know that he wasn't the film's first director or writer. Those honours went to Colin Trevorrow, who was tapped to take the helm way back in 2015. He developed the Star Wars 9 script with his frequent collaborator Derek Connolly over the next few years, but in 2017 Trevorrow departed the project due to creative differences. That's when Abrams came on board and set about reworking the story with the final credits. On Rise of Skywalker, giving Abrams and Chris Terrio screenplay by credit, and Trevorrow and Connolly story by credit. Now, this is interesting. Why did Connolly and Trevorrow have a credit? Is there pieces of their story in The Rise of Skywalker? Because if there is, they're going to be very, very small ones. But since Trevorrow was on Star Wars 9 for so long, we knew that he had certainly developed at least one draft of a screenplay, which meant that somewhere out there was an alternative version of Episode 9. And now the major plot beats of one of Trevorrow's drafts has leaked online. The script leak hails from YouTuber Robert Meyer Burnett. Now, Robert Meyer Burnett has worked very closely with John Campea on his show as well. He's very well connected in Hollywood. This is a big thing for Robert Meyer Burnett. He's going to get a lot of views for this. Now, every YouTuber like me is talking about it, who posted a video yesterday supposedly breaking down the major story beats of Trevorrow's version of Star Wars 9, titled Star Wars Duel of the Fates. Now, this is interesting because the prequel, one of the prequel themes composed by John Williams is Duel of Fates. So that's interesting as well. It had the opening crawl, the story arcs for Rey, Kylo, Finn and Poe, and even Rose Tico, and of course the ending. That video then made the rounds on Reddit. And while fans were curious as to the veracity of the whole thing, sources familiar with Trevorrow's script confirmed to Collider that the plot details revealed in Burnett's video line up with what was in that particular draft. It's true, all of it. The veracity of Burnett's video was also independently confirmed by the folks over at the playlist, if you need more convincing. So was Colin Trevorrow's Star Wars 9 very different from J.J. Abrams' version of the film? I can tell you yes, absolutely. Before we dig into specific plot points, it's important to keep in mind two things. One, the draft is apparently dated December 2016, so there no doubt would have been further changes had Trevorrow remained on board. And two, as we've seen time and time again, major changes can happen to a script once cameras roll. So there's no guarantee that if Trevorrow had remained on Star Wars 9, that this is exactly what that movie would have been. But this does give us an idea of what Trevorrow was thinking for the direction of this particular story. The opening crawl from the script written by Trevor and Connolly is as follows, so listen very carefully. The iron grip of the First Order has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. Treacherous acts are punishable by death, determined to suffocate a growing unrest. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighbouring systems, led by General Leia Organa. The Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. In all honesty, this is a much better opening crawl than what J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio gave us. I tell you what I didn't really like about J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio's opening crawl. And I haven't spoken deeply about The Rise of Skywalker. I did do a short video, of course, a reaction video that you can find. But at the end of the day, it just seemed to, look, Star Wars Episode 9, yes, Emperor Palpatine is alive, blah, blah, blah. And it was just literally trying to justify Palpatine's existence. And that's really what I didn't like about it. The beginning of the film very much picks up from The Last Jedi, in that the First Order has cut off all communications between planets in order to suppress a rebellion inspired by Luke Skywalker's standoff at the Battle of Crait. So the spark of the rebellion did work in this version of the movie. In fact, opening sequence of Duel of the Fates finds Finn, John Boyega, Rose, Kelly Marie Tran, and BB-8 stealing a Star Destroyer. That's chock full of Imperial weapons. During the heist, Finn sees a stormtrooper with his helmet off that he recognises with his story arc in Duel of the Fates, nicely concluding the one that began in The Force Awakens. You see, this is the kind of thing I wanted to see. I always felt it was great to look at a stormtrooper who was a bit sympathetic with the rebellion, who didn't want to be doing what he was doing, and do an arc for him or her. And I even wrote some fan fiction about a stormtrooper falling in love with a member of the rebellion. So anyway, Rose, Kelly Marie Tran and BB-8 stealing a Star Destroyer. That's chock full of Imperial weapons during the heist. I'm repeating myself. The Force Awakens. Oh, and Rose apparently front and centre through the whole movie, which is a damn shame given that she's completely sidelined in Rise of Skywalker. But let me tell you something about Rose Tico in the Duel of the Fates. She has got a brilliant arc. She is so good in that story, and this is what we all wanted to see. Now, I didn't dislike Rose in The Last Jedi. I thought she was a good, solid character. A lot of people hated that. I personally didn't. In Trevorrow's, I'm not saying I was in love with her or anything, but some of the reactions to her are ridiculous and I think stem within racism. In Trevorrow's version, Rose and Finn are on a mission to Coruscant to ignite an ancient beacon in the old Jedi Temple, which will call the galaxy to war. They get in prison. Rose gets interrogated by General Hux, Domhnall Gleeson, and Finn leads an uprising of defecting stormtroopers in a ground battle in the streets of Coruscant. Absolutely fantastic. When I first read this, I thought, bloody hell. He used to be a stormtrooper. He should be doing this. He should be doing this. This is brilliant, isn't it? Brilliant. This is what we want to see. New thinking, new arcs, not just going over the same stuff again. And they sacked Colin Trevorrow for this. This is Disney. This sums them up. They have no ambition whatsoever. Anyway, where are we? At the very end of the movie, Finn and Rose lead a group of Force-sensitive youth to a remote planet where Rey is waiting to train the next generation of Jedi. Yes, Broom Boy is one of them. Interesting. As for Kylo, well, Kylo Ren still dies at the end of Duel of the Fates, but his arc in the film, as well as Rey's, is completely different. For one, there's no Emperor Palpatine at the beginning of the movie. Kylo Ren has vanished off to Mustafar, Darth Vader's lava planet, and is wallowing around in Vader's old castle. There he's haunted by the Force ghost of Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill's return, and even fights a hallucinatory version of Darth Vader, while Luke's fighting the cave. He comes into contact with the Sith teacher of Palpatine, Tor Valum, via an ancient Sith device as he's trying to put an end to the Jedi and the Sith once and for all. But he's bad in this in this version of the story. He's gone full Heisenberg, so to speak, which I think is better. Ray Daisy Ridley, meanwhile, still believes there's good in Kylo Ren and has teamed up with Poe, Oscar Isaac, to put an end to the Jedi Sith in her own way. Another story point this film picks up from the ending of The Last Jedi. And Rey's parents, still nobodies, i.e. Rey is not a Palpatine, but Kylo Ren has killed them at the behest of Snoke. Ouch. The finale of the movie finds Rey and Kylo Ren ducking it out on the mystical planet Mortis, with Rey getting an assist from Force ghosts of Luke, Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, presumably, and Yoda. Jedi try unsuccessfully to bring Kylo Ren back to the light, but he's too far gone in the end. He is extinguished. This is honestly what many felt the crux of Episode 9 should have been. The battle for Kylo Ren's soul. Instead, Abrams and co decided to muddle everything up with this Palpatine nonsense, which is just unnecessary, added external conflict, and that detracts from the emotional thrust of this trilogy. I love everything, but still Rey being a nobody is problematic. It's not problematic seeing, an ordinary young girl rise to a hero. That's fantastic. That really is. But ultimately, we kind of needed an explanation why she was so Force sensitive, and that's where the problem is. I'm very curious to know what exactly Kathleen Kennedy and the folks at Lucasfilm took issue with in Trevorrow's story, and why they ultimately parted ways. Perhaps we'll never know, but it is fascinating to hear now one version of Trevorrow and Connolly's script panned out. It's certainly better than the constant pulling of punches and lazy fan service in The Rise of Skywalker. Great article by Collider, which is rare, by the way. Look, what do I think about all this? Look, this is unprecedented. Trevorrow's script being leaked, and Collider saying this was always going to happen. No, this wasn't always going to happen. These things don't happen unless people who work within the industry leak them purposely. Trevorrow, or the people around him, leaked this. Not necessarily to say, you see what they did to me? It is more about him as well, because people are now going to look at Colin Trevorrow and say, wow, this is a talented guy. And this is great for the next Jurassic World movie as well. I've liked his first two movies, by the way. This is a really, really talented guy. So I think that's what interests me as well. This puts his stock up, because this is a really good screenplay by him and his partner. It's really, really good. And the only thing I don't like, as I say, is Rey still being a nobody. That really doesn't work for me. And I like the fact that J.J. Abrams at least tried to give an explanation why she was so Force sensitive. Look, you saw my reaction to The Rise of Skywalker. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's okay. I enjoyed it. Watching it in the cinema, I enjoyed it. And I certainly think it's better than The Last Jedi, but I enjoyed The Force Awakens. I think The Rise of Skywalker is problematic because J.J. Abrams was put under, it's a film made by committee, not by filmmaker, not by creative. And this is Disney all round. This is how they run the MCU. But because the committee is Kevin Feige, they get away with it. But sooner or later, the consumer, you and me, I've woken up to it years ago, will have problems with the MCU. And it'll be interesting if they suffer in the box office because of it. Look, they sacked the man who come up with something so creative, so compelling, so entertaining, but they didn't want it because it didn't fit what they wanted to do. But I think the author of the Collider article is correct. I'd love to ask Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, of course, what was the problem with that film, with that script. And there isn't really a problem there. First of all, if you're talking about, gender politics, well, Colin Trevorrow has done great stuff with, Kelly Marie Tran's character, right? And I love the fact that John Boyega's Finn, he's getting all these stormtroopers together to rise up. That's brilliant. That's what we wanted for him. So we've got a character of colour. We have got an Asian character really taking part of this story, and not just cast to make up the numbers and say, hey, look, we cast an actor of colour. Oh, we cast an Asian woman. Aren't we cool? Well, no, not if you're just casting them to say that you cast them and you're not actually giving them something prominent and compelling to do. This is what Colin did. This would have been perfect. This would have fixed the whole franchise. I genuinely believe they're getting their shit together now. They've now finally got the right people. I'm excited for the future of Star Wars, but I'm also disappointed that they didn't understand what they were trying to do. And for me, not having George Lucas as a consultant from the very beginning was problematic. But I've said this before. A lot of fans were annoyed and upset with Lucas because of the prequels. Not me, because I love the prequels. But they should have been strong and said, right, George Lucas, as the creator of Star Wars, should be the consultant. George Lucas, as the creator of Star Wars, should be co-head of Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy. Why didn't they do that? They didn't want him involved. And something tells me that George Lucas would have been okay with being co-head of Lucasfilm. It means anything he couldn't be bothered to do or didn't want to commit his time to do, Kathleen Kennedy would have taken care of it. So what I'm saying is, George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy being involved as a team would have been a better fit. Too many mistakes, and now they literally have to start again, but people are after them now, especially the fandom menace. So they're really, I think what they're doing on Disney Plus with Star Wars is interesting and good. I think that they're coming up with some good ideas. The Obi-Wan TV series really excites me. So I think they will come up with some better things to do, definitely. They've learnt their lesson now. The Rise of Skywalker was a messy situation. It's just crossed $1 billion. But this is an unprecedented situation. It shows you that Colin Trevorrow knew exactly what he was doing, and it's Disney who didn't have a clue what they were doing.